The Agenda with Michael Knight on News Radio 560 KPQ and KPQ.com.
82 degrees in town. It's 10 minutes past 1 o'clock, and let's meet our special guest. Tim Burnham is a professor at Central Washington University, professor of clinical physiology, and he's an expert on cancer survivor rehabilitation. I guess I could leave the word survivor out of there, can't I? Until you survive cancer, there's no point in rehabilitating. I guess you go step by step. But, Tim, welcome to the show, and let's talk about getting better after we get better, right? First we get better, and then we get much better.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Yeah, that's about how it goes.
Well, the concept of rehabilitating after surgery is not a new one, or rehabilitating after an injury. So certainly it would be apropos to try a program of some true rehabilitation following a battle with cancer.
Well, let's maybe start with some of the symptoms after cancer treatment. So if you have chemotherapy, radiation, surgery, or combinations, there are a number of side effects that occur after that, including muscle wasting, muscle atrophy, a tremendous amount of fatigue, a decrease in quality of life, depression, fitness levels go down. So all of those things will respond to exercise.
There was nothing good on that list.
There's nothing good on that list. And I'll add another one, cognition.
You don't even stop for lunch and then lunch. But no, not even that, right?
Right.
I guess even a tuna fish sandwich doesn't sound appealing in that condition.
Exactly. There's a lot of things that happen during cancer treatment. And many of these patients, after they survive the treatment, which may take a really long time, they have no direction in how to get back to previous function. So that's where cancer rehabilitation comes in, is what to do for these people. I've been researching this area for about 20 years now. I started with exercise programs, and more recently, not that recently, 2011, we started a cancer rehab program here in Wenatchee. So not only can you get cancer treatment here in Wenatchee, you can go to the rehabilitation program. There are 4 entities that are involved in that. They are the EASE Cancer Foundation, and EASE is Exercise and Survivorship Education. So the EASE Cancer Foundation, I'm a founding member of that, one of them. Central Washington University, where I work, Confluence Health, and the Wenatchee Valley YMCA. So the 4 of us got together, and this was triggered by Confluence Health coming to the EASE Cancer Foundation, and telling us, can you build a rehabilitation program for us? And we built one. There's no blueprint. We made it up. We've changed it over time, and now we think we really have a good one.
Let's talk about the type of cancer that this would be apropos to treat following surgery, chemo, whatever the case may be. But because treatment is usually so harsh to deal with cancer that the person feels like hell when they're done with it.
Yeah, they really feel awful. They have a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, a lot of weakness. We take anybody with any type of cancer. So we don't discriminate on treatment type. We don't discriminate in type of cancer. Now, some cancers are a little bit easier to survive than others. If you have a number of rounds of chemo, for example, you're going to be really, really, really debilitated. Most of our patients are fairly debilitated. And what we do, we bring them into the program. We run the program twice a year. We run it in the spring and the fall. So we're about 8 weeks into our program right now. It's 12 weeks, 2 times a week for 90 minutes. And what we do is we first meet and have an education session. So we sit around a table and we talk about things. We talk about nutrition. We talk about exercise. We talk about chemo brain. We talk about quality of life interventions, things like that. Then we do an aerobic exercise session. We start at 20 minutes. This is in the YMCA. So we do treadmills, we do bikes, we do elliptical, we do rowing. You don't have to do the same one. You can switch around. We start at 20 minutes. Then we do a strength.
And the idea there is to make the heart beat and the lungs to breathe, right?
Yep. Get that heartbeat up. You could do it outside. Walking outside is a wonderful way to do it. We do it as a group inside after the education. Then we go to the weight room and we do 10, 15 minutes of strength, and then we do some flexibility. And
sounds pretty good.
It's been extremely successful. We also, since I'm a professor, we measure things. We measure your fitness with VO2 max. We measure your body fat. We measure your flexibility. We measure your strength. We measure your depression. We measure your quality of life. We measure your anxiety. We measure your fatigue and a couple of other things, including cognition. And we've seen dramatic changes over those 12 weeks. So we're talking about starting at 20 minutes of aerobic exercise, really low levels, Michael. We use a scientific formula to figure out the level, and it's 40 to 60% of your heart rate reserve. That's about a heart rate for the average person, about 105. So a pretty easy walk. So we're not talking about hard levels of exercise here. We're not training athletes. We're talking about exercise that almost anybody can do.
Are there any rules along the way, like saying I can't?
We have not had anybody that hasn't tried. Now, we've had people with orthopedic problems. If you have a hip or a knee and you can't do certain things, we've had that.
But that won't stop you.
We can put them in the water. We do some aquatic stuff too. So we have ways to train those, and we've seen some dramatic results with that. Probably the latest thing that we've been thinking about is this issue called chemobrain. And chemobrain, if you don't know, is this fogginess that can occur after cancer treatment. It doesn't have to be after chemotherapy. That's just what people call it. The real name is cancer-related cognitive impairment. And we noticed that some of our patients were having a little bit of cognitive decline. Their brains weren't working as well as they should be. And about 2 years ago, I decided to address that. So we added to the program I just described, we added brain exercises. So once a week, of our 2 sessions a week, once a week, we do 15 minutes of brain exercises. And I think the key to it is this. There's a couple things that affect your cognition. One is exercise. If you exercise, your brain works better.
It likes it.
And there's scientific explanation for
blood and air go to the brain.
It
not a bad better. Combination.
Right. The other part of that is if you think, and I'm being very specific, if you focus, your brain works better. And let me tell you what I mean by focus. Some people call it attention. When I say focus, I mean, can you focus on one thing with the exclusion of everything else? So let's say a person's going to read a book. That's a good brain activity. Let's say you sit down with a book, cup of coffee, cup of tea, got your feet up, start to read the book, and your brain starts thinking about, what am I going to have for dinner? The kids are coming home at 3:30. I better let the dog out. I have to go down to the store.
What did I just read? I don't know.
All those things, and then you forget what you read, right? That is not focus. Focus is, can your mind stay on one thing? So we do it with brain games. This is how we do it. It's only 15 minutes, but it's equally as hard as training your body. So what we do, we have a series of computer games. The simplest one that we start out with is, it's silly. It's called Duck, Duck, Moose. On a computer screen.
Duck, Duck, Moose?
Yes, Duck, Duck, Moose.
Okay.
You're shown 3 pictures of animals, a duck, a moose.
Right.
And you're showing them really quick, and then the screen turns away and you have to write them down. Now, 3 is easy, but what about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 coming in a series?
Write down everything you see.
You have to write down a series of 8 animals in a row. And to do that, you have to concentrate. If your mind wanders for a second, you'll forget. And so that's one of the games we play. The other one is a cup game. We take 6 blue solo cups, 6 red solo cups. We show them a computer-generated picture that has red and blue designs and the cups stacked up, and then we turn it away. They get 10 seconds to look at it. They have to build it with these cups. So not only do they have to think and remember, they have to use their hands. And we think that improves brain function. And what we found recently is a significant improvement in cognition over our 12 weeks with that combination of exercise and the combination of the brain exercise.
And is chemobrain something that will visit anyone of any age following treatment?
Chemobrain, even though the name says chemotherapy, chemobrain can happen in anybody after cancer treatment. Even a minor surgery without any follow-up radiation or chemotherapy.
You think it happens to someone who's just had a regular surgery or is suffering from some other prolonged disease?
I'm not sure about that. I think you might be wandering along the line of a stress response or a post-traumatic stress response, which I think is probably involved with chemobrain because cancer patients have a lot of stress. I mean, if you get diagnosed with cancer and you have to go through it, there's a lot of stress.
All your waking hours, you're thinking about it.
Yeah, so this chemobrain idea, or the cognitive, or cancer-related cognitive impairment, the proper name, we don't know that much about it. We know it lasts a long time. It affects about, the estimates are really wide, 20 to 75% of cancer survivors, so probably about half have chemobrain. And it's really upsetting. And a lot of times they'll go to their oncologist and say, I'm having trouble with my memory. And they'll get a response back that says something like, oh, you're getting older, or you went through menopause, or you're stressed out. And those are good explanations, but we think it's actually something else. And now we finally put this intervention in place where we've shown over the 12 weeks we see an improvement in a significant improvement in cognition. We've taken people who are rated as mildly impaired cognitively and got them back up to normal in the 12 weeks.
In just 12 weeks?
In the 12-week program, 2 days a week. But remember, it's a combination of exercise and the brain activity. You can do one or the other, but we really think that to work quickly, we think that combination is really the secret.
Do people who have suffered, as we were describing, get to the point where they don't want to exercise, they don't want to think, they don't want to, they lose interest in life?
Yes, exactly. And
how do we bring them back?
Well, part of what you're describing is the depression.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big effect on it. And of course, if you're depressed or you're stressed out, of course people don't want to do anything. We've seen in our most recent study, and this is almost verbatim, 57% decrease in depression over 12 weeks. That's really major. So think about it, Michael. You come in, you're depressed because you have cancer, and 12 weeks later, you're almost 60% less depressed. That's a good improvement. It doesn't mean you're not depressed still, but
I know it's hard to measure this next part, but now that we've improved our mind, we've improved our attitude, we've improved the way we're treating ourselves, now my chances of beating cancer are improved as well?
We hope so. So you're talking about reoccurrence.
Right.
We think so. That would take really long-term studies where you'd have to follow people for a number of years and see if they get a reoccurrence. And some people are doing that, and it takes a long time and a lot of money to do that. But we think one of the ways that we think it works, if you exercise at the right level, you can increase your immune system. And a strong immune system will repel lots of types of cancers.
I like that, a strong immune system.
And so we know with the right level of exercise that we're prescribing, we increase the immune system. Now, the other side of that is if you go too hard and train too hard, you can see a decrease in the immune function. And we try to keep people away from that end of it.
Because you can weaken yourself.
Exactly. There's a lot of studies with elite runners, and they get a lot more upper respiratory colds and things because their immune system is decreased.
Wow.
Of course, they may only be 20, and they can rebound pretty quickly.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
You have an event coming up, and I want to discuss it now, and then we'll come back to this on June 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah. The East Cancer Foundation is celebrating National Cancer Survivors Day, and we're doing it on June 2nd and June 3rd, and we're doing it in Leavenworth in conjunction with the Icicle Village Resort. We're doing a walk. The walk is free. Registration starts about 9 o'clock. The walk's at 10. If you wanted to do a buffet, there's a nice buffet at the Icicle Village Resort afterwards. That is costs some money. And after the buffet, there's a music concert coming on. It goes from 1 to 5. The Saddle Rockers will be there, a local group. And also, Beth Wood and Steve Wood are coming up from California to do some music. So it's a nice afternoon, a walk in the morning, a bit of Mexican buffet at lunchtime, and then music throughout the afternoon. If you would like to do it, it's open to everybody. You don't have to have cancer to do it. It's $40 for the buffet and music, and if you want to just come to the music, it's $15.
And you can check out easecancer.org to get more information on that, June 2nd and June 3rd. Well, it's good to celebrate something in this business, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, Michael.
Because the cancer business, shouldn't call it a business, the events that surround someone coming down with that disease are life-changing, to say the least. They are deadly, to say the worst. And the whole family gets affected by it.
Oh, yeah. But I guess the good side of that is the 5-year survival rate now is about 69%.
Regardless of what kind of cancer.
Regardless of cancer.
Across the board.
Now, there are more aggressive cancers.
Sure.
But on average, it's 69% of people who've had a cancer diagnosis are still alive after 5 years.
You must be pretty persuasive to get someone to start this treatment because they're feeling the worst they probably felt in their life. And you say, now here's a way to get better. But you're going to have to get up.
That's one of the tricks is how do you get somebody who has overwhelming fatigue to now exercise? Because they'll say, well, shoot, I'm tired now.
I'm too tired.
If I start exercising, I'm going to be more tired. But actually, we've shown that a really nice drop, about a 40% drop in fatigue. If you hang in there, I'm not saying the first couple weeks are fun. I mean, the first couple of weeks are a bit of work going through the program, but usually after about 2 or 3 weeks, people really buy in, they bond together as a group, and they actually have a lot of fun.
As a professor of physiology, what do you teach your students that they can use in their future to continue this kind of work? What do they have to learn? I guess they have to learn all the ropes.
Well, I teach a class that's called clinical physiology, and we go through cancer and cancer rehab, but we also go through diabetes and cardiovascular disease and obesity.
So there's rehab for any condition.
Yeah, all those different conditions. And the exercise programming is specific for each one.
Sure.
And so I take them through all of that. And so our graduates, a lot of them help out with the cancer program as interns, or I have master's students that help out. One just defended yesterday her master's thesis on the cancer rehab program. So I have undergrads and graduate students that help out, and I do take them through the training. So they're pretty well versed on what to do.
Our guest is Tim Burnham. He's a professor at Central Washington University. His special is cancer survivor rehabilitation. We'll be back in just one moment.
Your home. Where would you like to start?
News Radio 560 KPQ. Our time is 1:28. Our special guest is Tim Burnham, professor at Central Washington University, cancer survivor rehabilitation specialist. And I guess the short version is, no matter how you feel following your treatment of cancer or your battle with cancer, working out in some form under supervision is still the way to feel better.
I think so, Michael, and I think the key is under supervision at the right level, because if you can get yourself too fatigued, you've got to be a little bit careful.
And also learn a few tricks about what to do and how to feel better, and then you can work on your own as you get stronger.
Exactly.
Let's talk one more time about the event coming up for cancer survivors. It's time, if you've battled cancer and survived, why not celebrate a little bit? You'll be in Leavenworth, can't go wrong. It'll be a sunny, beautiful day. Tell us about the event.
Yeah, the event is June 2nd and June 3rd. There's a free walk. The walk starts at 10 o'clock. It goes from 10 to about noon. At noon, there's a buffet. After the buffet, from 1 to 5, there's music, a local group, and then also a group out of California. Information about that is at easecancer.org. The buffet and music is $40. The music alone is $15, and the walk is free.
Tim, tell us about the challenge that anybody faces like this. Well, who do they call? How do they get a hold of a professional that can help them in their rehabilitation and their workout following a disease like this?
They can always get a hold of me. They can get a hold of the Ease Cancer Foundation.
That's EASE. You can just Google that.
ease.cancer.org. And they can get a hold of me. And you can look me up on the website at Central Washington University under Tim Burnham.
And there are programs available to people throughout the Wenatchee Valley that are listening now?
Yes. And remember, we run spring and fall. So we'll be opening fall registration fairly soon.
And for someone who has never worked out a lot in their life, but has battled and won against cancer for the time being, what should they forget about? What should they embrace when it's time to do this kind of work?
They should embrace rehabilitation and getting back to where they were, and it gives them a sense of control and a sense of power that they can actually take a role instead of having to go treatment to treatment to treatment. Now they can actually do something positive for themselves, and we can show you how to do all of that. You don't have to know how to exercise or use equipment.
A number of people have come in and talked about ALS. They've talked about Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, cancer. There's research into all these. Do you think that we're meant to ever solve the problems of cancer or some of these other neurological diseases? I mean, I know we research them. I know we battle them. I know we fight against them. But will we ever cure these diseases?
I don't know if we'll ever cure them, Michael. I know that it's a big fight.
Too fundamental to our structure?
I think so. We've made some great strides, though. We've made great strides. We made great strides in rehabilitation. I would hope that we could eradicate those types of diseases, but my gut tells me we're not going to be able to.
Well, that's a fair answer. I was hoping you were going to lie to me and tell me something rose-colored. Tim Burnham, professor at Central Washington University. By the way, in your classes that you teach, if someone wants to major in this and pursue it further as part of their education, what should they do?
We have 2 degrees, one in clinical physiology and one in exercise science. And if they get a hold of me, I can direct them.
And after majoring in something like that and getting a degree, your future is what? You're going to be someone working in this field in terms of bringing people back, in terms of rehabilitation?
Yeah, I have a number of students that work in cancer rehabilitation right now. They may have to start their own program. They may have to start from scratch. But
so in your mind, cancer rehabilitation is not widespread enough. It should be part of the treatment.
There is a call out now that suggests that every medical center giving cancer treatment should have a rehab program, but some of them don't. Confluence Health got way ahead of the curve on this one. We're really lucky in this valley.
Because if you break your leg, you're going to have physical rehabilitation. It's just a natural. Why? Let's get the leg back.
Yep.
But so often after other treatment, we don't consider rehabilitation, or we don't consider a physical aspect part of that rehabilitation.
And we're trying to make it the standard that you get when you get done with treatment, you go into rehab.
Good luck.
Yeah.
That's Tim Burnham, professor at Central Washington University. You want to know more about it, go to ease.org. And if you want to know more about the Cancer Foundation sponsoring walk, Google that one and